Welcome to episode 18 of Garrett's Football Show. Last week was, first, I guess after 18 weeks, I was going to skip over who I am. But in case those of you are watching for the first time and don't know, I'm the host, Garrett Sims. But last week was supposed to be the last episode of Garrett's Football Show, and due to some unforeseen events, I was not able to film last week. So now we're making this week the first weekend of the playoff Wildcard weekend. This is going to be the last episode of Garrett's Football Show. This week I'm going to go over every Wildcard matchup, make my predictions for who win, and a little bit of commentary. But that's coming later in the episode. First, we're going to get into my teams and do a little end-of-season wrap-up on both of them. And we're going to start off with the Steelers. I'd say this was a great end to what I'd say is a very, very good season for the Steelers. I mean, at the end of it, we did everything we could to get into the playoffs. We won our last two games, a tough division game against Baltimore, and then who was our last game? I want to look at that real quick, but whoever it is, we lost our last two games of the season, and our offense got better each week, and in our last 9 games, we went 7-2 with Pickett to get Tomlin another season with a winning record. So that's 16 seasons without a losing record for Mike Tomlin. And we beat the Browns in our last game of the year, so finished it out with 2 division games. But yeah, just another 7-2 to the end, 7-2 for the last 9 games of the season. And Tomlin, another winning record. That's 16 seasons in a row that Mike Tomlin has been coaching, and he has never had a losing record in the NFL. Pickett had a great rookie season, and he got better and better each week. You could tell he had more comfortable. Like I said, from the first week that I saw him, he had those intangibles that you can't teach. Just the confidence, the leadership, the ability to go and extend plays, just certain things that you're not going to be able to teach. And then the things you can teach, just getting comfortable in the pocket, learning how to read defenses, learning how to run an offense. He got better with that each and every week, and I think he showed that he's going to continue to get better next year if he can just stay healthy. I said when Pickett started, he would be ready, and he was. I said in Tomlin we trust, and clearly we should. And again, Najee got better at the last half of the season and started looking like the running back that we drafted last year, our offensive running back powerhouse. That's what he started to look like at the end of the season. Honestly, there's nothing bad that I can say about this season, but one thing right now about the season that I feel like has to be said is look at what the Steelers were able to do this season with a rookie quarterback in a draft class with almost no quarterback. Last year's draft class with quarterbacks, people said was trash. We got Kenny Pickett with our best player, T.J. Watt, hurt for most of the season, a trash offensive coordinator, a bad offensive line, a wide receiver one in Deontay Johnson who didn't score any touchdowns, and a rookie wide receiver, Pickens, who decided to be one of our best talents. I mean, if you just don't look at that all together and say that Mike Tomlin is one of the best coaches in the NFL, then I'm going to say that you don't know football. The Steelers are a top 3 organization in the league, and we're not 3. Mike Tomlin is a top 5 coach in NFL history. I'm not even going to get into where he falls in that line, but he's top 5. I'm not arguing with anyone about that. And the Steelers are they're America's real team. The Steelers are going to be in the Super Bowl in the next 5 years. Mark my words. Tomlin's going to get us to another Super Bowl, and Pickett's going to get us to another Super Bowl, and that's all I'm really worried about. There's nothing bad that I can say about the Steelers this season. I'm happy for what they did, considering we started with Mitchell fucking Trubisky and had a rookie quarterback come in halfway, or not even halfway, but 3 games into the season and take over our offense. I don't know how any Steelers fans can see this season, especially the end of it, and not be happy. Looking forward to next season. I'd say we need to draft some good O-line pieces, get a new offensive coordinator, and honestly, I'll feel confident in the Steelers' chances in competing in the AFC North, which is one of the hardest divisions in the league. I think Pickett, Pickens, Tomlin, Najee, our defense, I think we have what it takes to compete with the Joe Burrows, with the Lamar Jacksons, with the Ravens, with the Bengals. I'm not worried about it. And I love the competition, and it's going to make my team look even better when we do get to a Super Bowl. But that's all I have on the Steelers, man. Mike Tomlin's top 5. Steelers is a top 3 organization. Pickett is a franchise QB. What more do you want me to say? Now, going to the Colts. We did it. we successfully completed a midseason tank and got the 4th pick in the NFL draft. This season was insane for the Colts, and it showed why we are at best a questionable organization and at worst an extremely poor run organization. And I don't really think there's much room for arguing with that. I mean, we started this season very, very hopeful. Definitely we should have won our division, and there's talks of us even potentially being a Super Bowl team. I mean, we started with Matt Ryan, a veteran quarterback. We started with what was supposed to be one of the best O-lines in the league. Definitely the most paid O-line in the league, I'm pretty sure. And arguably, coming into this season, arguably the best running back in the league, and Jonathan Taylor, and a very, very good defense. And we ended here with just terrible games, 50-point blowout by the Cowboys, Vikings coming back by 30 points on us in the second half of a game, losing to the fucking Texans 32-31. That's where our season ended, but our season started with a Super Bowl potentially hopes. So, I mean, and the whole team is gutted. We have to get a new coach, new quarterback, a new offensive coordinator, and who knows if we're going to need a new GM. So those are a lot of signs to what I would say a very good reason that we may be one of the worst run organizations in the NFL. But it's okay. We have a chance. We have a lot of talent. Next year is where all of our heads out need to be right now. If you're a Colts fan, just throw out this year out of your head. Like I said, just a terrible season, and we could have a terrible offseason, or we could have a great offseason. I think for most Colts fans, it's really not going to be too much of an in-between. And I think for me, even if we get a coach before draft night, our offseason really starts on draft night. And the QB we get or don't get, what we do on draft night with that 4th pick is what is going to start our offseason, and everything from that decision will just be a tidal wave and affect all the other smaller decisions that are going to have to happen for the Colts to make a 180 turn next season. That's really all it comes down to for me with the offseason. Who's going to be our quarterback next year, and how do we get them? And I'm saying this right now, if we get another veteran or old QB instead of drafting one, I may seriously stop being a fucking Colts fan. If we don't do the right thing. If we don't do the right thing and draft one of CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, if we don't draft a good quarterback and I don't want Derek Carr, I don't want Aaron Rodgers, shit, I don't even want Tom Brady. If the chance of Tom Brady came to Indianapolis, could be a chance. I do not want that, because it's just keeping the same problem that we've had for the last 5 years going. Do not get a veteran QB. Jim Irsay, if you don't listen to anything I say, listen to me. Draft a QB this offseason. If we get Derek Carr, Aaron Rodgers, some random-ass old QB, I don't know who else could be the 49ers quarterback who I'm forgetting right now, Jimmy G, any of those quarterbacks, Baker Mayfield. I've seen people say a lot of shit. I do not want any of those quarterbacks. I want us to draft a QB. That is what the offseason starts with for me. If we don't draft a QB, or if we draft a QB and figure out for us to draft the wrong one, it's not going to get the job done. I guess I won't be surprised, but we completed the tank. We got the 4th pick. Use it. Let's build, please. That's enough of my teams. We're 8 minutes in. I think that's good timing. But, yeah, I guess for both of my teams, we do have, I guess I've been saying all season, the future is better than the present for the Steelers. The same as obviously, hopefully, the case for the Colts. So the seasons to come for both of my teams will be better this season. So I'll have fun watching both of my teams continue to grow and kind of go from the Steelers like medium to the top and the Colts the bottom to the top. So time will tell with those two teams. Now we're going to move on and get into the exciting part of the show for me, talking about Wildcard weekends. I'm about to go over all the matchups for this weekend. I'm going to say who I think is going to win, and I'm going to give a little commentary on both the teams. We are going to start with the AFC. So the Kansas City Chiefs finished with number one in the AFC. So unless they lose the AFC Championship, the AFC playoffs is going through Kansas City. And that's the last thing any and every team in the AFC needs. Patrick Mahomes having to play at home every game. I don't even think I need to say just anything about the Chiefs. The Chiefs are just greatness, and it's great to see the best team in the league and the best players be great and play like the best. It's just gonna always make for good TV, good football, good ratings, entertainment. Now let's get into the first matchup. Number 2 Buffalo Bills versus the number 7 Miami Dolphins. So Miami was able to scoot into the playoffs. Tua is cleared to play this week. And I think everyone can tell with the Dolphins, when Tua plays, they're a lot better. And Tua showed that he can hang with the Bills in the cold in Buffalo. So without Tua, this game isn't even going to be close. The Dolphins would win. Now, if Tua plays, and there's a conversation to be had if Tua should even play, but I think he's definitely playing. So with him playing, I think it makes the game a lot more interesting. I think the game could be close, but the Bills are the Bills. I mean, at their best, the Bills are the best team in the league and the scariest team in the league. But they also have a tendency to come up short in close games and make some bad mistakes. So it's always like a chance for the Bills to be upset, in my opinion. But I will say, last year, I saw Josh Allen have one of the most dominant, talented, impressive playoff runs I've ever seen. I mean, he was throwing multiple touchdowns every game, he was just doing crazy shit every single game, including that game including that division round game against the Chiefs where they lost. That was one of like a masterclass of a playoff performance that Josh Allen did last year. And if he's able to turn that on, I mean, they're going to beat the Dolphins for sure. And I think they're going to if he's able to turn that on and have stats and just efficiency and talent like he did last year in those playoff games, I think the Bills are probably going to be in the Super Bowl. I'm not switching my Super Bowl pick. It's still the Chiefs. But, I mean, Josh Allen, if he's able to turn that on again, they're going to definitely beat the Dolphins, and they're probably going to get to the AFC Championships and see the Chiefs. I'm going to leave it there. As far as Miami, great season. From what you could see, Tua was hurt. He had multiple concussions, so he was out. So when he didn't play, obviously the Dolphins really felt that. And sometimes there were times where Tua kind of regressed to the old Tua, made some bad interceptions, made some bad plays. But honestly, if you're a Dolphins fan, you should be happy about the future with your team, and you should be happy with Mike McDaniels. I mean, I've heard a little bit of some people saying, should he be fired? 8-8 start to a season. He needs to get more just like people talking shit about him, basically, for lack of a better term. I kind of just don't agree with that. 8-8, he changed the Dolphins into one of the most high-flying offenses in the league. At one point in the season, everyone was scared of the Dolphins. They just had some injuries that hurt them, but I think you keep Mike McDaniels, and I think you run it back another year and just let all those pieces, Waddle, Tyreek Hill, Tua, just get better together. But their season, their good season, all right season, I think that ends this weekend when they go up against the Bills in Buffalo. Next, we got the number 3 Bengals versus the number 6 Ravens. I mean, the Ravens have just fell apart without Lamar. And I feel like I have to say this because the Ravens have been pissing me off with how they treat Lamar all year. And he's been hurt, but he probably could have came back. And the reason Lamar's not going to come back before he has to is, why would he? I mean, why would he come back and risk his body and risk his money for a team and an organization that doesn't even want to pay him? So I'm not mad. If Lamar could play maybe and he hasn't been playing, I would do the exact same thing. Anybody who's mad at Lamar or think he should be risking his body or playing for the team, I just think, honestly, again, you don't know football. Shut up. I just can't even agree with that at all. So, I mean, yeah, the Ravens are in the position that they put themselves in. And whatever happens, whether they lose this game, win this game, I don't care if they win the fucking Super Bowl. They need to look at the game tapes of when Lamar is out and when he wasn't playing and think long and hard this offseason about what they want to do with their QB and what the future of their team is going to be in the upcoming years. But even if Lamar comes back and plays this weekend, which I think he will, the timing right now is terrible. I mean, he's missed 5 games. The offense is completely struggling. It's a clusterfuck. in these 5 games when he hasn't played. And on the backside of that, the Bengals offense is hitting on all cylinders right now. Joe Burrow in the fourth quarter is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He, like I said a couple weeks ago, he's cool, calm, and collected. He never seems nervous. This is a terrible matchup for the Ravens right now, I think. I got the Bengals winning this game probably by at least 10 points. And again, I just want to come back around and say to the Ravens, do the right thing. Maybe that may be the name of this show, of this episode. Do the right thing with Lamar. Pay that man. Or he will be leaving, and he will get whatever team he goes to. I'm telling you, he's going to get that team a Super Bowl. Whatever is the first team that actually believes in Lamar and builds around him and gives him tools, that organization will be blessed with the Super Bowl. And it should be the Ravens, but if it's not, that's their fault. Let's move on. Number 4 Jags versus the number 5 Chargers. I said at the beginning of this year, I think the Jags are going to win the AFC South, get into the playoffs, and they're going to lose their first playoff game, and that will be a great end to their season because it will show that Trevor Lawrence has gotten better, and it shows that the Jags are changing and becoming a different franchise. I said that like the second or third week of Garrett's football show, the first episode of Aaron. Jags are going to win the AFC South. Jags are going to get to the playoffs. Now, while for a little bit it didn't look like that was going to happen and I stopped talking about the Jags, they turned it on and got really hot at the end of the year. And look where they are right now. In the rankings, the Jags are favorited as like the 4th seed, of course, for winning the AFC South, their division. But on FanDuel, the Jags are plus 1.5, so the Chargers are favorited. NFL rankings say the Jags are higher. Vegas says that Chargers are higher. I'm going to say Jags are going to win this game. I know that I said that earlier in the season and just now the Jags would get to the playoffs and lose their first game. That was my take at the beginning of the season. I'm retracting that statement. The Jags are going to beat the Chargers. They're going to beat the Chargers this weekend. And I think it's because of Lawrence. Since November began, Lawrence is second in the NFL in completion percentage, in 3rd in passer rating, and 8th in total QBR. He's playing like a top 5 QB. Their coach is fitting perfect with the team, and they're hot at the right time of the year. That is one of those things that has been said the last couple weeks of Garrett's football show when we've been talking about the playoffs. If you get hot at the right time of the year, you're hard to beat, and you're a scary matchup. And that's just what the Jags are right now, a scary matchup for anyone. I have the Jags beating the Chargers, and I think it could be kind of even more of a sign that the Chargers may need a new coach. And I also am going to say this is going to be the best game of Wildcard weekend. Jags versus Chargers, best game of Wildcard weekend. Trevor Lawrence is going to continue to show why he's that generational pick. I got the Jags winning this game. I mean, Jags just had a great season this year and a great turnaround. And that's really all I'm going to say. But that's my wrap-up of the AFC wildcard weekend. I got Jags, Bengals, Bills. Kansas City is Kansas City. Now let's move on to the NFC playoff wildcard weekend matchups. First, we have, the Eagles were able to pull off that first spot. I'm going to just leave it to where I've been saying all season. I have no good reason to not think the Eagles should be in the Super Bowl. I mean, if you can't say the last couple weeks they've been playing bad because they have not had Jalen Hurts. There's obviously been problems with that, but when Jalen Hurts plays, the Eagles are a different team. Now is Jalen Hurts going to be 100%? Those are all things you could ask yourself, but I'm going to just stick to what I've said all year. There's something not right about the Eagles, and I do not trust the Eagles to get through even what I would say is a much easier road to the playoffs than if you were in the AFC. I like Jalen Hurts. I like the Eagles. I like Nick Sirianni. I do not think that the Eagles are going to be getting to the playoffs. Getting to the Super Bowl, though, even if they have this first week bye. Now let's get into the first matchup for Wildcard Weekend for the NFC. Number 2, 49ers versus the number 7 Seahawks. I mean, let me just show you guys what Brock Purdy has been doing in the weeks. This is the 49ers' third-string quarterback, I'm about to say. Since becoming the starter for the 49ers in Week 14, he's ranked first in passer rating. He's tied for first in passing TDs. He's first in passing and TDs over attempts. He's first in passing yards over attempts, and he has 5 wins, which is tied for first. He is 5-0, the third-string quarterback of the 49ers since coming on to the team. This is what I've been saying all year. The 49ers are not a team that relies on their QB to win games. They've won 10 straight games, 5 with Jimmy G, and then he got hurt, and then 5 with Brock Purdy. And they look great on all 3 sides of the ball, offense, defense, special teams, and they have a Pro Bowl talent on all 3 sides of the ball. Christian McCaffrey, Debo on defense. They have Bosa. I think it's Joey Bosa. I always get Nick and Joey mixed up which one is which. But either way you want to play it, the Bills have, not the Bills, the 49ers, and the 49ers have arguably the best defense in the league. They are probably the only team in the league that I can say without a great quarterback or a really good quarterback is still a Super Bowl contender and a Super Bowl winning contender. If you just listen to me, I'll say that I think you know who I think is going to win this game. The 49ers are going to beat the Seahawks. Great for Geno Smith. Great for the Seahawks with, this season, they were looking like they were going to be in full rebuild mode because they got rid of Russell Wilson. If you've watched any football games, you know what Russell Wilson did this season. So it's impressive what the Seahawks did, but that ends here. The 49ers are going to win, and I still think they're going to get into the NFC Championship and be the Super Bowl team for the NFC. 49ers win this game. Let's move on. Number 3, Vikings versus the number 6 Giants. The last time these teams met a couple weeks ago, it ended in a 3-point field goal walk-off by the Vikings. The Vikings have been a team I've been worried about, kind of like the Eagles all year, that do they really impress me? And I will say they don't. But either way, we're gonna find out the answer to that on, I can't think of what day they play, but this weekend. But I will say every single close game that they've been in this year, they found a way to win. And when they lose, they get blown out. So I can't see them getting blown out by the Giants, A. And I think everyone can say at any point in this game, whatever the score is, the Vikings have a chance to come back in it because they play so calm, cool, collected. They're like the team version of Joe Burrow. They play so well under pressure. So I think this has the potential to be like maybe the first, but probably the second most entertaining game of Wildcard weekend. But I got the Vikings coming out and winning this game. I mean, the Giants have performed over expectation all year. Matt Dable is 100% in the conversation for Coach of the Year, but I just got Vikings winning this first game against the Giants. Everything after that I think is up in the air. They probably won't get past this game, but I think they're going to beat the Giants. They should beat the Giants, and I think they will. But again, this is one to look out for. This definitely has the opportunity to be one of the best games of Wild Card Weekend, and it definitely has an opportunity to be one of the biggest upsets of Wild Card Weekend. But I got the Vikings winning this game. Buccaneers versus Cowboys. Ever since Aaron came on about 5 or 6 weeks ago, and he laid out that strategy of how Tom Brady could get back in the Super Bowl against how he was going to be playing these lackluster quarterbacks starting this weekend with Dak Prescott. I have seen it. I've been saying I think the Buccaneers are a silent dark horse to get to the Super Bowl again. It's Tom Brady. You can't bet against the GOAT. And even though the Buccaneers have looked sloppy all year, Tom Brady himself has looked sloppy. Every single game the Buccaneers needed to win for them to get into the playoffs, for them to have first in the division, to not let the Panthers and that the Falcons who were trying to sneak up on them, every time they had to win a game, they won it. And let's just look at it bare bones. The Buccaneers still have the greatest quarterback of all time. Greatest player of all time. They still have Mike Evans. They still have Chris Godwin. And they still have a defense that at times looks like a very above average defense, and a defense that in the biggest moments can get a stop. You can't. Are you going to bet against Tom Brady? Good luck. I'm not. I got Buccaneers winning this game. And a little fact I want to tell you, a little tidbit I want to say about the Cowboys. Dak Prescott is tied for the lead in interceptions this year, but he missed 5 games. So he missed 5 games, but he's also tied for most interceptions in the league. Dak Prescott, he's not a bad quarterback. I think it's arguable if he's a Super Bowl caliber quarterback. I think it gets even worse. This is something that can be said, and this is a fact. It gets even worse when you take into account he's one of the most paid quarterbacks in the NFL to be playing the way that he plays. Dak Prescott figures out a way to put teams in games. He also figures out a way to come back in games and make very good plays, but you can't have confidence in the Cowboys. They just seem like a bad luck franchise at this point. I got the Buccaneers winning this game, and it's going to be the same thing we got at the Cowboys all year. There was a point where even I was on here saying I could see the Cowboys getting to the Super Bowl and how good they look. They're one of those teams that are able to do that because of Jerry Jones, because of how flashy, because of that star, because of being in Dallas. But, yeah, that's not going to save them from Tom Brady this weekend. I got Tom Brady winning that game. Well, not Tom Brady. I got the Buccaneers winning that game, but I think it's going to be because of Tom Brady. But, yeah, those are my wild card weekend matchups. I got Buccaneers winning, Vikings winning, 49ers winning, Jaguars winning, Bengals winning, Buffalo winning. Now that I'm calling that back, there's no upset, so one of those will probably be wrong. But that's the way I see it. The Jags are an upset, I guess, but that's not a big upset. I don't think people would be too surprised with that. But that's my analysis of wild card weekend. Now let's get into fantasy. My fantasy season ended. I had a great fantasy season. So when this season started, it was my second year of fantasy. I said, you know what? Last year, my first year, I got to the playoffs and won the first game. When I started, I said, if I could get to the playoffs with my first playoff game, I'll be happy. We obviously skyrocketed past that. I got to the championship of my league. I won the last 9 or 10 games in a row. I went on a crazy win streak. I figured out better ways to check those waiver wires, how to run the team, and I honestly fell in love with fantasy way more this year. You guys all probably know what happened last Monday, the Monday night game against the Bengals and the Bills. So before I even speak on that, I want to say I'm super happy that Damar Hamlin is healthy. He's been taken off a breathing tube. I'm sure you guys have all seen that, but I feel like it's important for me to say on this show, I'm just happy, and it's a blessing that Damar Hamlin is healthy. But, and again, precursor before this, I do not want to sound like a dickhead, even though I will. That game got canceled, and when that game was happening, I was in the championship of my fantasy football league, and the person that I was playing against had one more person playing, Ja'Marr Chase. And when that game got canceled, everybody was like, okay, from a fantasy perspective, what's going to happen? I know how bad that sounds, but if you were playing fantasy, you were thinking it. Even if you don't want to admit it, I will. We're like, what's going to happen? So the fantasy football, ESPN, the app that I did it through, they just completely scrapped the game like the NFL. So if you had Ja'Marr Chase, Josh Allen, any of those, T. Higgins, if you had any of those players on your team, you just didn't get those points, and you probably got fucked. For me, it worked out because I ended up winning. my league because the person I was going against didn't get those potential points from Ja'Marr Chase. So I was happy. I posted on my Instagram account, I was bragging. I won fantasy. I felt very good. But then I got a call 5-6 days later from Camby. He is the commissioner of my league, and he's like, hey, I know you're going to hate to hear this, but we're going to look at what Ja'Marr Chase gets this Sunday, week 18 of the final week of the season. We're going to look at Ja'Marr Chase gets for it's Cade. It's I went to high school, Cade, yeah. It's Cade's team. We're going to look at what Ja'Marr Chase does, and we're going to add those points to his final, points, and then we're going to shake it out that way. Of course, Ja'Marr Chase got 25 points, and I ended up losing and getting second place on my fantasy league. So I still got a little bit of money, but it's obviously not what we wanted. Second place is never the goal. It's never what we want, especially when you're in the championship. I'm happy that I even got there. I'm mad that I lost, but yeah, GG's to Cade. You beat me. I think looking at it, it was the right thing to do overall to. If it was me, I'd be shitty if my best player didn't even get a chance to play, and that's how I lost in the championship. I'm a true winner at heart, I feel like, and, if you're a winner, you want to play against the best and beat the best and win against the best, and you don't want any handicaps in winning. So it's how it shook out. I went way past my expectations for this season, and you already know my expectations for next year with fantasy football is going to be to win the whole thing. I got second place. I got a little bit of money, a little bit of spending money. Can't be too mad about it. So that is how my fantasy season wrapped up. That is my analysis of Wildcard weekend. Now I'm going to just get in to just a little bit of talk because this is the last episode of season 1 of Garrett's Football Show. And for this, I just want to say thank you for everyone who watched Garrett's Football Show, whether you watched a full 1 hour, 30 hour, 45-minute hour on YouTube, whether you watched the clip on Twitter, TikTok, or Instagram, just for a second while scrolling. Just thank you for taking any amount of time out of your day to watch me sit in my basement and talk about football. Thank you to every single guest who came on with me every week that taught me more about football, that came on to just give me support with learning how to be in front of a camera by myself, figuring out the consistency and the talent that it takes to even do this. Thank you to all the guests. You guys helped me grow, not even as a football fan, but as someone who enjoys doing this, sitting with a mic and camera and talking about football. I love all my guests that came on. You guys helped me so much. Garrett's Football Show wouldn't have been what it was without you guys. And thank you to my friends and family who listened to my ideas, listened to me complain, my questions, gave answers to them, listened to me, supported me in any way, liked a picture, liked a photo, reposted anything. My friends and family who were there with me and believed in me and supported me just with this 18-week, more than 18-week process. Thank you. I can't say enough how appreciative I am of that. So, to the people who watched, to the people who supported, to the people who came and sat down next to me, I appreciate all of you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But most importantly, I want to say this is season 1 of Garrett's Football Show. There will be another season as soon as the season starts up again for the NFL. The season 2 of Garrett's Football Show will start up. But I want to say that this is not the last that you're going to be seeing of me until September. I'm still going to be active on all of my football accounts, talking about the off season with the Steelers and the Colts and just things around the league. So on Instagram, follow gfs.2022. Follow that Instagram account, and you're going to still see me talk about football even in the off season. And this isn't going to be the last year seeing me making videos. Coming in March, I have a whole new show coming on, and I'm going to be talking about more things. I don't even want to get into that right now, but if you enjoyed just watching me sit in front of a camera and my personality, you're not going to have to wait until September. I have something very big coming in March that will be for the rest of the year. But that's it. That was Garrett's Football Show Season 1. That's 18 episodes. Love it or hate it, I did it.